All right, let's jump right into it. What is the purpose of the purpose and the main message of this campaign?
Well, I think we're all aware of how addicted we've become to social media. And especially during the pandemic, we know that a lot of young people have been turning to social media to fulfill community needs as their lives have taken some different directions because of COVID. But one of the things that's been revealed in this new Dove self esteem research is that when girls are online, 1 out of 2 of them will report that toxic beauty advice that they receive online negatively impacts their self esteem. So I think we've all been wondering about the cause and effect of absorbing all of this sort of negative and harmful beauty advice. But now we want to create a campaign that's designed to get parents to talk about that with their young people in their lives and to help them detox their feeds as a result.
And let's start there. So, how do you even approach that topic? How do you talk to your teens about toxic beauty advice?
Well, I think it's important to note that most parents are actually on the same platforms that their teens are on. It's just that the algorithms are serving them very different content. So Dove released this incredible film called Toxic Influence, where moms and their teenage daughters were together talking about the impact of negative beauty advice online. And one of the things that comes up in this film is Dove used this face mapping technology to have moms look like they're the ones giving the toxic advice to their daughters, right? So talking about going on a water diet for 10 days or filing your teeth down to make them look straight, things that girls actually receive and see online every day. And the purpose of this film was to really expose the idea that while moms know their daughters are exposed to lots of messages, I don't know that parents understand how dangerous those messages can really be. And I think young people absorb them and normalize them and think that that's just kind of what is, expected on social media. So the idea is to bring us closer together in that knowledge. And I think parents have an opportunity now to have a conversation. And, you can do it in a couple of different ways. You can just talk about who do you follow and how do they make you feel? Do you feel more depressed when you get off social media? Do you find yourself comparing your looks to others or your body image to others? And one of the greatest things about detoxing your feed is it's very simple to do. Put somebody on mute for a week. And if you don't miss their content and you feel better not seeing their work, then odds are that was a good person to detox from your feed. And you can focus on, getting yourself the content that makes you feel good and not the content that makes you feel bad. I think this is a way to retrain the algorithms and the content that we're delivering to young people.
So you recommend detoxing the feeds rather than just a hard stop, just a ban on social media in general for these teen girls?
Yeah, I'm not a proponent of banning social. I think if you're a parent of a young person, you've got to recognize they're digital natives. The toothpaste is out of the tube. Social media is not something that's going to get canceled. It's a way of life. It's a way that they connect. It's a way that real friendships are born. And not all social media is bad. Social media serves a beautiful purpose to build community. What we want to raise awareness of is that there is a lot of toxic media advice online that is not regulated, that kids don't have the media literacy skills to navigate through. And we want parents to open up a dialogue to talk about developing better skills, because that's going to help our kids in the long run, because social media and many iterations to come are here to stay.
And there are those tools on Facebook to unfollow and on Instagram to mute. What about TikTok? I know a lot of the young teens are on TikTok, and I know a lot of them are, obsessed with how they look on that platform as well.
Yeah, I know. And I know the individual platforms try to do their best to address kind of the regulations and the negative influence. But I really think in the Detox Your Feed campaign is really about discernment and recognizing what's out there and monitoring how it makes you feel. So on TikTok, again, like the algorithm rewards you with more content of what you're consuming. So another thing to talk about with your kids is to talk about how long do you spend looking at this content? Like if you find somebody that you like, and for whatever reason, you think they're interesting and you start looking at their content and you realize, wow, they're advising me to do some things that seem kind of, wild, and you keep watching it, you're going to keep getting rewarded with more and more content like that. So I think part of it is recognizing that each platform has a way of giving you more of what you're consuming. So it's a great opportunity, whether you're on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat, to really take a moment and say, how is this affecting my mental health? How does this affect my physical health? Am I tempted to try some of these things? And I think sometimes, an interesting part of the research that Dove discovered as well is that 80% of girls want to have this conversation with their parents. They just often don't have the right language or the right way to bring it up. So we're trying to meet in the middle a little bit with parents and teens to ignite this convo.
And how are you and Dove able to get the word out about this? How are you going to be reaching parents and teen girls?
So there's a number of ways that we're going to be supporting parents in helping them reach out to their teens. So we've got this film that we're encouraging folks to watch. And then Dove Self-Esteem Project has incredible academically accredited curriculum that's available for free. In fact, Dove is the #1 provider of self-esteem education in the world. And so we have a Detox Your Feed confidence kit that folks can get involved with. We have an educational video that folks can download at dove.com to help start that conversation with their kids. But we're also doing a free live stream Q&A event on May 12th. With myself and a psychotherapist and a TikTok creator named Nadia Adesi, where we're going to be walking parents through what's a Finsta, what's Finspo, what's Fitspo, like helping to sort of translate what's happening for kids on social media. So that's going to be available, and the information will be on Dove's social channels. And then starting May 24th, we're going to be launching a podcast called Let's Change Beauty, where we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the worlds of beauty and gaming, sports, and entertainment to help folks understand how to challenge these beauty stereotypes.
So a lot of good tools and tips to help parents help their teen children. And I was just say tween children as well, because people, like you said,
Yes.
they are native to the digital world.
They really are.
I wanted to kind of read some of these stats from the Dove research so we can kind of reflect on them a little bit. So it says that 1 in 2 girls say idealized beauty content on social media causes low self-esteem. And 7 in 10 girls have felt better after unfollowing idealized beauty content on social media. So when you learn those stats, kind of what struck you about that?
I think for me, it was the reward of curating your feed. I think it's a very simple act to do that can create a lot of relief in a young person's life. Look, it's also can create relief in our lives too. I practice detoxing my feed. You know, you find yourself in a rut with the content that you're consuming, or I would find myself in a mindset that wouldn't be helpful. But I have different coping skills as an adult. When you're a young person navigating this world, even though you're a digital native, I think the critical thinking skills to develop are really important. So when I hear that 7 out of 10 girls actually feel better, I'm not surprised, because I think it was a small step of action that they can take to make their world a more positive place online. And that's really what we're advocating for. It's to help girls feel more empowered in the content that they're receiving and absorbing online.
And do you think some teen girls don't realize that they have full control over what they're exposing to themselves? And do you think this campaign will help them with that?
I think that campaign is going to help validate both mothers and daughters in recognizing the impact of what they consume every day, because I think it's like wallpaper. It's these messages of toxic beauty standards are insidious. They're subtle, they're around us all the time. And maybe it's not every post that a young person is consuming online. Maybe it's every 10th post. But the point is it stacks up over time. And so if you keep absorbing those messages, you internalize them. And then you begin to believe them to be true. And so I think what this campaign really does is it allows us to take a breath and a step back and say, look, we've got research now to really validate the impact, and we've got tools, because I don't want people to feel helpless about this. Social media can feel like a real unwieldy universe to get involved with. And the important thing is this is about communication and consistency. We have so many tools available because this is not a one and done. We need parents and young people to be diligent in practicing the detoxing their feed.
Yes, and as you just mentioned, for full-grown adults, it helps as well so much.
It sure does. It really does.
So if you could go ahead and tell people how they can find more information if they're interested in participating, and where they can find some of these tools.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would always check out dove.com for incredible free self-esteem resources. And if you're able to follow Dove on Instagram, that's oftentimes where we'll promote and talk about the free workshop coming up on May 12th, a wonderful resource for parents to get an hour with a well-known psychotherapist working on social media issues with teens and myself to culturally contextualize what's happening. So, you know, much like we're trying to detox people's feeds, our information is also through social media and through dove.com.
And I wanted to give you the final word before we sign off. Is there anything that you want to leave people with that you really want to emphasize here?
I think this is really about igniting a movement of care and understanding that, there has been a mental health crisis for young people. We've heard the president talk about it. We read articles about it almost daily now. I think not just because of the pandemic, we've been looking at mental health crises for teens prior to the pandemic, but I want us, especially as adults, to recognize that the impact of what our kids consume on a daily basis online, while it might not always be intended to cause harm, is, per this research from Dove, really impacting self-esteem and confidence. And we, as their aunties, parents, educators, mentors, adults in the world, we can really do something to ignite that conversation. So I want to focus us on the solution to this so that we can enjoy social media, enjoy our communities, but also really build our confidence meaningfully.
So learning to live with social media in a healthy way.
I think we all have to do it.
Yes, everybody does. As soon as you're exposed to it, to probably the end of your life. Again, we're talking about the Dove Self-Esteem Project's #Detoxify campaign, which is exposing the insidious nature of toxic beauty advice on teens' feed. And we'd like to thank you for joining us, Jess Weiner, a cultural expert, for sharing this and also pointing people in the right direction for how to even handle these issues. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely, my pleasure.